From the Wall Street Journal, public universities become prime targets for state budget cuts. About fucking time. State legislatures reduce mid-year funding and schools brace for more trims. Major public universities are bracing for deep funding cuts as states scramble to cover growing budget gaps. See, it's sad that you have budget gaps, and that's why you're cutting state funding. What you should be doing is cutting state funding on principle, because your public schools, your state colleges and universities are not only providing worthless degrees, they're providing damaging degrees that ruin young kids' lives, that ruin young men's and women's lives. And I am not against cutting and eliminating the liberal arts because they're leftist camps of indoctrination. That certainly is a secondary benefit. It is to prevent you from ruining 2/3 of every generation of Americans that come out of high school now. Because 2/3 of all college majors are the liberal arts. 2/3 of the kids go and waste, at minimum, 4 years of their lives, and Lord knows how much in tuition and debt, and cripple their financial futures. And I wish the Republicans would wake up to this. I wish you idiot Republicans in the state legislatures and the national legislature would realize how much you could win over young people's votes. I mean, it's going to be, screw you, Dad, you're just breaking my dreams. You need to spank these little worthless pieces of millennial shit, soon to be the, the homeland generation. The millennials already gone. Gen Xers, you guys failed us there too. No one told us anything otherwise. But can we start with the homeland generation, this up-and-coming generation, and prevent them from majoring in stupid shit by simply making it so that they can't, look, if you want to major in the liberal arts, fine, but you're going to pay full tuition costs, and the government is not subsidizing it, and the government is not giving you a loan for it. Why can we not do that? Because it is in their best interests. Oh, they'll hem and haw and scream bloody murder and that you're ruining their dreams. Fuck them. Right? They're too stupid. They're young. That's why they're kids. That's why millennials still live at home at 30. Right? That's why America's going down the wrong track. If we could take the time to change this major flaw, we would have at least kids who didn't cripple the next 2 decades of their lives. The housing market would be booming. Families would be growing. Well, maybe not having a lot of kids, but people would be much more financially stable, working 4 years instead of pissing it away on some worthless liberal arts degree over at Amherst or Babson. And I know those are private schools, but if you could at least make it so the public universities aren't willingly ass-raping young generations and the future, because we all care about the children. The children are our future. Well, stop ass-raping them and saddling them with $100,000 of student loan debt when they graduate at 23. Let's just start there, huh? Let's just not fuck them over completely before they enter the real working adult world with the handicap of $100,000 in debt. With schools like the University of Iowa and Missouri State University among the biggest victims. Yeah, Ferguson. I wonder, anyone going to Mizzou now? Oh, that's right. White people don't remember. White people have no self-respect. They're going to go to Mizzou. Facing declining revenue, legislatures in Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa recently have reduced state appropriation for public universities and community colleges more than 7 months into those states' fiscal years. Now, here's where I have a complaint with this. The University of Nebraska is digesting a likely $13.3 million funding cut for the remainder of the current fiscal year and staring down at a proposal to slash nearly $18 million more over the next 2 years. Guys, this is nothing. This is not solving the problem. This is the faggoty little limp-wristed Republican rhino bullshit. If we just keep current spending levels where they are, in 40 years the government will balance itself out. No! Trump the fuck up and cut and get rid of these evil programs that ruin people's lives. That's how simple this is. I'm not saying eliminate liberal arts programs. Even offer it if you want, but have those kids bear the full cost. And have them, what was it? Was it Arizona is requiring or some other state is requiring colleges to warn their students that these degrees do not lead to employment. That's all I'm at. But this nip and tuck, ooh, 13.3 million, ooh, 18 million over 2 years, ooh, look, we're being brave. No, you're not being brave. You're growing a micro mustard seed sized testicle, and you're afraid that's going to get squashed. You should be ending funding and government loans, period, to the liberal arts. We want to do everything we can to protect the academic enterprise, and we want to be able to be as affordable as possible, said President Hank Bounds, who oversees campuses of 51,000 students. Unfortunately, we're going to violate both of those fundamental principles. Oh, Hank Bounds, I wonder how much you make to use a liberal argument against you guys that you like to use on corporations. I wonder what Hank Bounds gets paid, and how many assistant reserve vice deputy reserve break glass in case of emergency diversity sensitive guidance counselors you have. I wonder how much fat there is to trim at the administrative levels. Bounds said tuition increases as well as cuts to spending on technology, travel, and facilities are all on the table. Republican Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts continues to work with the university to identify budget priorities, according to his spokesman, Taylor Gage. Just as the governor is working with the legislature to balance the budget without raising taxes, he urges the university to prioritize spending restraint over increasing its tuition rates. Well, there you go. You know how you get them to get their spending restraints under control? You just cut their funding. When there's no money, they'll make do. It's amazing how adaptive humans are. It's just that government never seems to force that upon leftists. They always think, like government workers, they're entitled to a 2% raise and lifelong employment. Until they aren't. And then, well, you could see that. When those Obama administrative type people, like, they all of a sudden lost their jobs when Obama went away, like, and I was so flummoxed and perplexed. I'm like, how did you not know your job was coming to an end? What did you think was going to happen? The guy had his 8 years. He's done. Oh, you're the idiots that didn't understand the Electoral College and think because reasons you're entitled to have everything go your way all the time. Many states are facing a tough budget season as weak revenue and sluggish growth are forcing cutbacks in services across the board. Some states dependent on agriculture and natural gas production have seen their coffers shrink as commodity prices fell, while others have seen weak consumer spending hurt their tax revenues. How about you just stop offering a shitty product? Governors and lawmakers in at least another half a dozen states, including Pennsylvania and Connecticut, have proposed fiscal 2018 cuts to higher education, an easy target because shortfalls can be made up through tuition and fee increases. These kids don't have the money. Us taxpayers would not like to bankroll them. Why don't we take you're not solving the problem. You're treating the symptom. Barely treating the symptom. Just make it so that there is... Look, how about government universities, state universities, just get out of the liberal arts programs altogether. Let the private schools handle that. If you want to go to Middlebury or some fucked up piece of shit, rape you in the ass and overcharge your parents type of school for some worthless liberal arts degree, go there. But can you at least be responsible with the state university? You want to see state universities also become better and higher ranked than your private universities? Stop offering worthless degrees. Say, nope, we're a polytechnic. We offer trades. We offer a 2-year community college. We offer STEM and engineering and medicine and computer and IT certifications. Do that. You'll be doing the taxpayer a big favor. You'll balance the budget, and you'll be doing younger future generations a favor that the past 40 years of adults have not done, and that is telling them the fucking truth. But feelings and dreams and follow your heart and the money will follow. A December report by Moody's Investors Service estimated aggregate state funding for higher education would grow between 3 and 4% in the current fiscal year, but the pace is forecasted to slow to 1.5 to 2.5% in the coming fiscal year. Well, it has to because the GDP, the economy is not growing by 3 or 4% a year. It's growing by 2.1. They make this sound like this is some Herculean thing. Oh, we cut the budget. You cut the rate of growth. Energy-dependent states like Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Alaska are expected to be hardest hit because oil and gas prices have declined. Well, did they save up their money when times were good? Diminishing tax revenue, while public college funding in Illinois, which has gone More than a year and a half without a budget is also uncertain. Dustin Whedon, a policy specialist. Let me reread that. Dustin Whedon, a worthless person, at the National Conference of State Legislatures, Shazam! Said until state economies rebound, public colleges and universities can expect minimal growth in state funding at best or substantial cuts at worst. Many critics of high college costs say it's time administrative bloat is brought in check. There you go. But school leaders, who are the administrative bloat, argue the state funding cuts will force them to raise prices too much because we can't go without our luxury vehicles and our fancy houses and our Bernie Sanders-like lifestyle. Scale back on course offerings and ultimately hurt students' return on investment. Oh yeah, like you guys ever gave a fuck about students' returns on investment. Tuition already has been on the rise at state schools. According to the College Tuition Board, average published tuition and fees at four-year colleges jumped by more than 40% in the past decade, and net prices, which take into account scholarships and tax credits, increased by nearly 30%. States' contributions to higher education institutions fell sharply after the 2008 recession, and while they have been increasing in many states, funding levels haven't fully recovered, nor should they. In Iowa, where attendance at public universities hit a record of nearly 82,000 students this fall, Republican Governor Terry Brandt signed a de-appropriation bill that cuts almost $118 million from the budget. Okay, there we go, including at least $8 million each from the University of Iowa and Iowa State University and $2 million from the University of Northern Iowa. Ben Hames, a spokesman for the governor, said it's up to schools to determine how they'll fill the gap, whether by cutting costs, increasing tuition revenue, or both. Oh, they'll just blame Republicans. That's all they're going to do. Republicans hate children, that's why they're cutting the tuition. And you stupid, worthless, uneducated, brainwashed, indoctrinated, ignorant pieces of young millennial and upcoming Homeland Generation fucks are so uneducated, so stupid, and so young, you're going to believe them. You're going to believe it's just the big bad Republicans being mean because reasons. Not going and asking why else is tuition so high. In Missouri, Governor Eric Greedence, a Republican, reduced fiscal 2017 core funding for four-year colleges by $68 million as part of a nearly $150 million in cuts announced in mid-January. Last week, he proposed slashing another $160 million in general revenue funds for colleges and universities for fiscal... Look, here's another idea. If you're going to cut funding to them, why have the state university system? Honestly, just give kids scholarships. Like, you get a 2.0... here's the amount of money you get. Like school vouchers. You get a 3.0, here's the amount of money you get. You get a 4.0, here's the amount of money you get. And we don't care where you're going to school. The state government is out of the business of colleges and universities. You go to wherever you want. Here's some money, by the way, but we don't care where you go. And again, the brainwashed, idiotic, stupid... Now, this isn't just millennials or Homeland Generation. Everybody's... They got rid of the schools. They hate children. That's right. I see it. See how logical and simple it is? Missouri State University, 26,000 students, nearly gets 40% of its total revenue from state appropriations, is dipping into its reserve to cover a surprise $6.3 million cut, or 7% of state funds for the current fiscal year. Why don't you just cut bloat? When's the last time you guys went through a reorg? I know. Cliff Smart, Missouri State University president, said he may shutter some research centers, rethinking staffing, and canceling an entrepreneur outreach program with the local school district. Yeah, you universities are such experts at entrepreneurship. Academians and entrepreneurship. That's like Muslims and peace. Hey, whoa! He was also seeking to trim athletics expenditures by $750,000. Way to cut into the fat there, Cliff. And is anticipating rising tuitions. We've been very, very frugal. Oh, shut up. You don't even know what frugal is. We now have to cut things that are meaningful for our students and for the community. In Texas, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you guys know. They're just... This is like your wife. I'll give you a real-world example. Client comes into the bank. $100,000 revolving line of credit. Kind of think of it as a spending account without going into too much boring banking jargon. And it's supposed to revolve, meaning it goes up and then he pays it down. It goes up and you pay it down. You're supposed to pay it down. I don't know if it was quarterly or what. So he kept running it to the max. I can't remember his name. We're like, hey, Frank, we call him up. Your line of credit is maxed out. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, the wife spent some things. Why the fuck is your wife spending your line of credit, Frank? It's written to Frank Johnson, whatever the fuck this guy's name was. It's not Mrs. Frank Johnson or Francine Johnson. What's going on, Frank? So he'd have to come in and pay that thing down. He was rich. He could make, or I don't know if he was rich. Now I think about it, I think he just borrowed money from some other schmuck and paid us down. But sure enough, that wife would come in there, and you would see maybe these guys try. Well, dear, maybe we don't need the S class. If you don't like that, and that's exactly what she said. It is like someone with a spending problem. And let's just nudge it a little. Let's slow down the oil tanker a little bit. Let's nudge it. No. Torpedo that oil tanker in the water, turn its carcass around, drag it back the other way. You either make determined, real, effective, and substantial cuts, or don't bother at all. Because all you Republicans, let me tell you, give you some political wisdom because I'm a genius, and you guys should hire me at assholeconsulting.com because I'd be way better than Dick Morse. The left is going to accuse you of every sin imaginable. And whether it is a $18 million cut spread over 2 years or a $180 million cut spread over 2 years, you're going to incur the same amount of wrath. 1, because you're cutting it. 2, because you're Republicans. 3, because the Democrats and leftists in the media and the universities don't care. And 4, and here's why you might as well go for the $180 million over 2 years instead of the 18 over 2 years. Millennials and college students are too fucking stupid to know the mathematical difference. They don't know. I really don't think at about the 100 million level of money or numbers in general, I don't think young people differentiate between a million, a billion, and a trillion. It's just a lot of money. You could say 18 billion, 18 million. Most of these kids would not know the difference. I'm being deadly serious. Oh, they know 18 million. I'm sorry, 18 billion is more than 18 million. They might know that, but they really don't know how much. And they'll just write it off as Republicans cutting because they hate racist, sexist, homophobe. So if you're going to do it, do it. Do it all the way, man. Commit. Cut these fucking budgets off. Not cut them to the bone. Cut them the fuck off. Cut off programs. Stop funding altogether. Privatize. And they're going to scream and yell just as much as they were anyway. Even if you could give them a 2% raise, they'll bitch and whine because it's not 5. Do you Republicans, did you learn nothing from Trump's election? Nothing at all.